Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army on her final official duty in uniform after 21 years is Captain Stacey Harvey. We are honoured to acknowledge Ms. Julie Darabaros, Deputy Head of Mission, Embassy of France in Australia, Mr. Joseph Zimay, Director General of the Centenary Partnership Programme, Mrs. Maddie Dorsey, Councillor at the French Region, Hauts-de-France, Delegate of the Duty of Remembrance, and the accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial, as well as students on behalf of the following schools. From Victoria, St Mary's School, Mansfield, and from Western Australia, Wesley College, South Perth. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, students. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Roy Harold Napthaly. Roy Napthaly was born in 1896 to Herbert and Annie Napthaly in Fremantle, Western Australia. He attended Scotch College in Perth, and when he had left school, his family moved to New South Wales, settling in the Sydney suburb of Haberfield. Napthaly had an interest in sports and was a keen cricketer. He found employment as a pay clerk for the Australian Army at Victoria Barracks. In April 1917, Napthaly enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force. After 3 months of training, he embarked from Sydney on the transport ship Port Melbourne in July. He completed further training at the army camps on the Salisbury Plain in England until the end of the year. In January 1918, Napthaly sailed to France and joined his unit, the 35th Australian Infantry Battalion. As Europe emerged from the grip of winter, the Germans launched what was to be their final assault of the war. Known as the German Spring Offensive, it centred on a push towards the important rail hub city of Amiens in northern France. Australian Imperial Force units were rapidly brought south from the Belgian border to help defend this strategic point. All soldiers on leave from the 35th Battalion were recalled, and surplus gear was stored so that the unit could move quickly. The 35th Battalion was positioned to defend the French village of Villers-Bretonneux, less than 20 kilometres east of Amiens. In early April, Napthaly's company was resting behind the front line in billets when German artillery began shelling the village. When a shell landed on the house Napthaly was in, he was badly wounded. He was evacuated to a casualty clearing station, but he died of his wounds on the 9th of April, 1918. He was 21 years old. Roy Napthaly is buried in Namsa Vale British Cemetery outside Amiens, alongside over 400 other Commonwealth soldiers of the First World War. In Australia, Napthaly was survived by his mother Annie and his sisters Ivy and Sissy. His grieving mother had the following epitaph inscribed on his headstone: "The sun went down while it was yet day." Private Roy Harold Napthaly is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Roy Harold Napthaly, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial. Wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.